I've always been a skeptic, a man of science, a lover of logic. The stories you hear around campfires, the grainy photos, the blurry videos of mythical creatures. I always dismissed them. Until the day it happened. The day my entire worldview was shattered in the heart of the Redwood National Park. This isn't just another Bigfoot story. This is the story of a connection I never thought was possible, an experience that has changed me forever. It all started as a solo hiking trip, a way to disconnect from the noise of the city and reconnect with nature. I had been hiking for 3 days, deep into the less traveled parts of the forest. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of pine and damp earth. The ancient redwood trees towered over me like silent, watchful giants. It was peaceful, serene, almost magical. I had set up my camp near a small, clear stream, planning to stay for a couple of nights before heading back. The first night was uneventful, but on the second day, as dusk began to settle, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, I heard it. It wasn't the sound of any animal I knew. It was a soft, whimpering cry, almost like a child. My first thought was that a hiker, maybe a kid, had gotten lost. My heart started pounding. I grabbed my flashlight and a first aid kit, shouting, "Hello? Is anyone there? Do you need help?" The whimpering stopped for a moment, then started again, a little further away. I pushed through the dense ferns and undergrowth, following the sound. The forest was getting darker, and the shadows played tricks on my eyes. Every fallen log looked like a lurking animal. After about 10 minutes of searching, I stumbled into a small clearing. And what I saw there, it made me freeze. All the air left my lungs. Huddled at the base of a massive redwood was a small creature. It couldn't have been more than 3 feet tall. It was covered in thick, dark brown fur, but its face was more humanoid than ape-like. It had large, expressive, tear-filled eyes. It looked just like the descriptions of a juvenile Sasquatch, a young Bigfoot. It was clutching its leg, and I could see a dark patch of matted fur, a clear sign of an injury. It was whimpering in pain and fear. All my skepticism, all my logic, it just evaporated. Here was a living, breathing being, and it was hurt and alone. It looked up at me, its big eyes wide with terror. It tried to scramble away, but cried out in pain and collapsed. My instincts as a human being took over. I slowly knelt down, keeping a safe distance, and held my hands up to show I wasn't a threat. "Hey," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." I spoke slowly, softly, the way you would to a frightened animal or a small child. I pointed to my first aid kit. "You're hurt." "I want to help." It just stared at me, its small body trembling. I knew I had to earn its trust. I remembered I had an apple in my backpack. I slowly took it out, took a bite to show it was safe, and then rolled it gently towards the small creature. It flinched, but its eyes followed the apple. Hesitantly, it reached out a surprisingly human-like hand and picked it up. It sniffed it, then took a small, careful bite. It watched me the whole time, its chewing slow and deliberate. This went on for what felt like an eternity. Me, sitting there, talking in a low, soothing voice, and this little being cautiously observing me. I decided to unpack some of my supplies, making slow, deliberate movements. I laid out my small medical kit on a cloth. I opened a bottle of sterile water. See? Just water. For cleaning. I poured some on my own hand to show it. Slowly, ever so slowly, it seemed to understand I meant no harm. It let out another soft whimper and looked down at its leg. I took that as an invitation. I crawled forward, inch by inch, until I was close enough to see the wound. It was a deep gash, probably from a sharp rock or a broken branch. It was dirty and looked like it was beginning to get infected. "Okay, little guy," I whispered. "This might sting a little, but we have to clean it." It tensed as my hand got closer, but it didn't pull away. I gently poured the sterile water over the wound. It winced and let out a small cry, but it stayed still. It was trusting me. The weight of that trust was immense. I carefully cleaned the dirt and debris from the gash with antiseptic wipes. It's big, Brown eyes never left my face, filled with a mixture of pain, fear, and a dawning sense of understanding. After cleaning the wound, I applied some antibiotic ointment and wrapped a clean bandage around its leg. As primera finicidai, gently patted its shoulder. There. All done. That should feel better soon. The little creature looked down at its bandaged leg, then back up at me. And then it did something that I will remember for the rest of my life. It reached out its small, furry hand and placed it on my arm. It wasn't a grab, it was a gentle touch, a gesture of thanks, a connection. In that moment, language didn't matter. Species didn't matter. All that existed was two living beings, one helping the other. Tears welled up in my eyes. It was the most profound and emotional moment I had ever experienced. We sat there in silence as the last light of day faded. It finished its apple, and I shared some of my granola bar with it. It was clear it was lost and separated from its family. As night fell, a deep, resonant call echoed through the forest. It was a sound I had never heard before, powerful and melancholic. The little one's head shot up. Its ears twitched. It answered with a series of higher-pitched chirping calls. Another call answered back, this time closer. The little creature looked at me, then in the direction of the call. It was time for it to go. It got to its feet, testing its bandaged leg. It was still limping, but it could walk. Before it left, it turned back to me one last time. It made a soft rumbling sound in its chest and gave me a look that I can only describe as pure, undiluted gratitude. Then it turned and disappeared into the shadows of the giant trees, limping towards the sounds of its family. I sat there, alone in the clearing, for a long time. I didn't try to follow. I didn't take any pictures or videos. This moment was too sacred, too personal to be turned into proof for a skeptical world. It was a gift. It was a reminder that the world is so much bigger, so much more mysterious and wonderful than we can possibly imagine. I packed up my things and hiked back the next day, a different person than the one who had walked into the forest. I still don't talk about it much. People wouldn't believe me, and that's okay. I don't need them to. I know what happened. I know that for a brief moment, I connected with something truly magical. It taught me that empathy and compassion are a universal language, understood by all living things. And sometimes, the greatest discoveries aren't the ones you can prove in a lab, but the ones you feel in your heart. That encounter in the woods wasn't just the most emotional moment of my life. It was the moment I started to truly believe. Thank you for letting me share this with you. It means a lot to finally tell this story. If you've had an experience that changed your perspective on the world, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing for more adventures into the unknown. Stay curious. Stay curious.